Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to ISAS Facebook Live again. We are here today with ISAS Director Prof. Raja Mohan, whom we're going to speak to about Imran Khan's speech at the groundbreaking ceremony for the Kartarpur Sahib Corridor earlier this week, just 2 days ago, in fact. Now, Prof, in his speech, Imran Khan suggested that the ball was now in India's court for peace between the two neighbors. How do you evaluate these statements?
I think we've seen a fairly an extraordinary week in India-Pakistan relations. On the one hand, we had the commemoration of the 26/11 attacks on Mumbai. There were a whole lot of very moving ceremonies in the great city, and then we had almost on the same day on the Indian side laying the foundation stone for the corridor, the visa-free corridor between the two Punjabs. And then on Wednesday, you had Prime Minister Imran Khan lay the foundation stone on the other side and raise a number of issues in relation to India. Now, he's been saying for a while that, look, he's tried to reach out to India, but India has not responded properly, and that he's eager to take this peace process forward, and that he's ready to take 2 steps if India takes 1 step. The problem for India is actually twofold. I think one is the question, the whole problem of terrorism, that how do you deal with it? And I think here Imran Khan is saying, look, whatever has happened before me has happened before me. Let's start anew. But that's not easy for India to say, look, we just forget everything in the past and that you start anew. So I think there has to be some way of finding a process or an understanding where both sides address the main issues of concern to the other, which is, for India, the main question is terrorism. Pakistan, it is a question of Kashmir. Imran Khan talked about it. Now the question is, in the past, there were mechanisms by which this problem, that the core concerns of the two countries are different, and then how do you create a framework in which you can negotiate. So I think the challenge is that the Kartarpur Sahib Corridor is a good thing, and that could lead to some positive momentum, provided there is at least some back channel discussion between Delhi and Islamabad on actually how do you fix the pre-negotiation issues. those will have to be sorted out.
Right. He also made specific reference to the Kashmir issue in his speech. What do you think he's actually referring to, and is there some sort of posturing that he's targeting?
No, I think, given Pakistan's domestic audience, it was entirely expected that whatever he does at Kartarpur Sahib, I think he was going to raise the Kashmir question. So what is interesting, I thought, is not that he raised the issue. When Indian correspondents asked him, how are we going to take this forward? Can you, get into the details of it? He said a couple of interesting things. He said that, look, the question that there were negotiations on Kashmir between Prime Minister Mohan and Prime Minister and at the time President Musharraf. This was in 2005 to 2008. An interesting formula was worked out on Kashmir. So when people asked him about this, Imran Khan said, look, I'm not, he didn't dismiss that negotiation, nor did he endorse it. What he was saying was that, look, yes, there was a set of a framework which had 4 basic proposals and that 4 basic elements to it. One was that, look, we're not going to, trade territory. We're going to focus on softening the borders, and that there would be autonomy to the Kashmirs on the two Pakistan-controlled Kashmir as well as Indian-controlled Kashmir on both sides. And then there would be some kind of an engagement between the two Kashmirs. So that was the framework. Now he's saying we can look at that framework if we sit down for talks with India. So my sense is that what he said yesterday, I think there is some part of it is propaganda. But I think, and when he says, look, I'm not responsible for what happened before me, but I'm open to doing things now anew. And the second problem for India is Indians say, look, Imran Khan doesn't have the power to either do good or bad towards India. the real power is the army. Therefore, how do we know that the army and the the army and the political leadership in Pakistan is on the same side of the equation? So there, I think Imran Khan sought to address that issue and said, look, we're all on the same page in Pakistan, so let's start talking. So that is where it is, and my sense is the problem of terror in Kashmir has been addressed before in the multiple times the peace process was launched. So if there is a substantive, significant back-channel talks, if there is no new terror incidents, I would think the current situation can open up some possibilities. And then on top of it, if they can do things in Punjab, for example, the Manmohan Singh government had negotiated a whole range of confidence building measures in Punjab about cross-border trade, about simplifying the procedures for trade. I mean, then there was the discussion on sale of electricity from India to Pakistan. Then there was the idea of building a pipeline that would carry hydrocarbons from India to Pakistan. So there were interesting ideas, and at that time it was Pakistan that backed off. So if Pakistan shows, as Imran says, look, I'm open for trade, then I think some at least confidence building measures can follow on the Punjab border between the two sides, and that would also create a positive momentum. So to sum up here, some steps are possible in Punjab. Some steps are possible if the two sides accept, look, what is the way in which we can start the negotiation? That India's interests and concerns on terrorism will have to be addressed, and Pakistan's interest in starting a negotiation on Kashmir must be addressed. And if they can find a way to fix this, then I think we might see some progress.
Right, that's interesting. Now, do you think these messages of peace that Imran Khan laid out were sincere, or were they all an effort to actually show for some success on his first 100 days in office?
No, I wouldn't be cynical on this, but I would say, look, there is always politics in every country. Whatever you do, there are some political calculations. After all, these are elected leaders, and they're not going to do things just for the sake of glory or historical legacy. Mm-hmm. So I think those will always be there. But the important thing is, if there is a way the two sides can, reassure each other that look, there is a way, because there is a path that has already been walked before. Mm-hmm. The idea of how to start a negotiation, because so many times it was stopped, so both sides know how to start it. So I think the key is to have a negotiation without any illusions about other side is being fair or unfair or is trying to cheat you. If you start saying that, look, here is what I can deliver, here is what you can deliver, and see how those steps can be taken, then I think a process can start. So I think, as Prime Minister Modi said in his speech at the Kartarpur Sahib Foundation ceremony, that look, there are problems between the governments, those have to be negotiated, but meanwhile, people-to-people contact, encouraging that is something good. So if we start moving on both fronts, there's something good on the confidence building measures, and then the governments have at least a quiet, beneath the radar, behind the public visibility. If they can come to some understanding, then I think we might see an interesting movement. But then the India-Pakistan relationship is always volatile. Just when you think something is going on, there's a terror incident, there's something else that will happen which spoils the relation. So I would say keep your fingers crossed, but hope that the two sides can find a way to engage each other.
Certainly, as Imran Khan himself said in his speech, we often take one step forward and two steps back. We're all hopeful for the best. Thank you, Prof.